Okay, so let's start with the Battle Pass. So the very anticipated and expected Battle Pass dropped. And there is obviously a lot of Reddit threads and a lot of talks about it. Some people feel that there's a lot of things that haven't come out yet because they will come out at the second part of the Battle Pass. And sometimes other people are saying that it's very underwhelming, the stuff in the Battle Pass. But funny enough, the collection of money has not really been that bad compared to the bad opinions about it. So anyway, I would like just to open up. What do you guys think about it? Have you guys go through it?
Yeah, I think very underwhelming was the first reaction I had. I mean, there's so many layers to this because like they're still getting money, obviously, but you can see that it's still not on par with the rest of the TIs, and that's not even including that there's like 2 months less going towards the TI Battle Pass or the prize pool. So that's like a whole separate discussion, I guess. But in terms of like bang for the buck, in terms of like just value alone, it feels very underwhelming. Like, I mean, I think the Void Arcana was quite good, actually. I think a lot of people disagree with me on that one. But everything else from like a personal standpoint, I wasn't really excited for. Like Centaur Immortal, I wanted it. I got it like super early. And I don't feel like there's a reason to really level anything more because I don't want to spend 250 to get the Void Arcana. But it's disappointing because they had so much time to make it as well, right? I think that's part of it.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like TI is the most important Dota festival of the year, and definitely this doesn't look like somebody who's been preparing for a full year. I don't know why. I don't know what happens. I mean, the Arcana also took a full year. Like usually it's done 6 months after or 8 months after the vote, right? It doesn't have to come in the next year's Battle Pass. So I also feel like I agree with you. The Void Arcana was good, but if that's all we're talking about, I feel is very, very underwhelming. I do think most people wanted to see like I mean, one thing is terrain. It's like the whole package deal. I think making another PvE, like at some point also making like a brand new type of PvE event for people to also enjoy. Like I never really play them, but I can see why it's such a cool thing to also have once a year, you know, with your friends, like especially your Dota friends, to play something else that's in the same engine. Yeah, I just feel like they could keep adding, like already now, you know, start planning for the next year, but I don't think this is how it kind of is. And I think it all goes back to how many people are working on it, how many people, you know, are dying for this and are really interested and are able to, yeah, I don't really know what goes into it, but some things feel different. Definitely the Battle Pass feels different.
I think it's a little bit convoluted, which I think is part of the problem that people have with this compared to last year, right? Is with all this stuff that's coming soon, you don't really know whether you should be excited about it or not because you have no idea how good it's going to be, right? Like, there's an Arcana coming out, there's a Persona coming out, and another Persona coming out. And first of all, the two Personas are for heroes that already have Arcanas, right? And if it's like everything else in the game, you can't wear them together. So I feel like they should have chosen heroes that don't have an Arcana so that you can have, you know, you want the Persona more. But I was talking to Shannon about this, and the PA, for example, PA is the second most played hero of all time in Dota. Was that it? I think you said?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense for her to have a Persona, right? Because a lot of people will want to play this hero, but if you can't use it with the Arcana, I don't know how big a percentage of players have the Arcana. So maybe this is still great value for them, but at the end of the day, the Persona is level 300. You could buy 2 or 3 Arcanas instead, right? So, like, is that value? Is the Crystal Maiden Persona amazing? Maybe it is. It's a picture of a wolf. It could be the next amazing thing, or maybe the wolf is just a background. You know, like, we don't know. So that's a little bit tough to really know whether to get excited. Then we have 2 chests of Immortals instead of 3. And each of them have 1 less item. At least the first one does. It has 5 items, and the usual one had 6 base items, I think. So there's less there. The overall quality of the Immortals, I think Shannon, you and I thought was pretty good in the first chest. We really liked the Hoodwink. We thought that was like S tier, but the other ones were like BA, maybe B to A, and some of them were C. Yeah, it's. And then for me personally, the thing that I care most about out of all of this is the support for the competitive scene, because that's what, like, my angle is always going to be with TI has been. I've had my opinion about the prize pool forever, that TI takes up too much of the year in terms of the prize pool. And this year I was hopeful, we're going to have a partitioned battle pass in 2 parts. So I was hoping the first part is going to contribute to TI, Maybe it's going to make a 20 million, 25 million prize pool. That's a really fucking big tournament. That sounds good to me. And then the second half could maybe fund the DPC. But as it sounds like, basically from sources that we've heard from like players or people that are affiliated with teams, that is not the plan. So supposedly everything that comes after TI is just 100% Valve, which, unless something changes, that's what I've heard, that the major structure for next year is the same as this year. 3 majors, the DPC season, and the same prize distribution overall, which I think is a problem, because essentially now in like we're just we've had our guesses. I think Shannon said 18 mil. I think I said 20 or something like that is what we think this is going to end up on, because it's half time of usual. And just judging from how it went in the beginning is probably where we land. So we have TI, but we don't make anything else bigger. It makes TI smaller relatively, I guess, but it doesn't really
got
help.
half the equation.
Like
Yeah.
what we want is we want TI to be smaller and then the rest of the year to be bigger. Like I think last year TI was worth 80% of all prize money in Dota. Like let that sink in for a second, how ridiculous this is. I think it was maybe even 85, right? 85% of all prize money for the year in one tournament. You can be the best team in the world for 7 months, and if you're not good at this one event, your year feels like a failure. And to me, that's just wrong. Like, that's not how it should be. Yeah, being the world champion should be something special. But
Right. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but the workshop has been power crept hard fucking core throughout the years. Like, we were part of the original workshop artists, I guess you could call it, like Dota Cinema, putting in sets and whatnot. We were some of the first to get like actual particle effects in the game, which was very good for my bank account at the time. But then they just disallowed that, and now sets are like so much more basic by nature. Like you can't do effects or anything like that, and then they just reserved all those effects for TI. So all that money going to artists is now, through TI and whatnot. But it's just one of those things. Like the issue with the battle pass, it just wasn't sustainable. Which is I understand on some level why they're doing what they're doing, is because you're power creeping every single year, trying to beat last year, and TI 10. Battle Pass was absurd if you look at it now, right? It's like absolutely fucking absurd. And I can understand on some level why they have kind of cut back a bit, but I just wish they did it in a way that would benefit the scene instead of just them, right? That's the only issue that I have.
That would be easy. You just cap the prize pool of TI, let's say to 20, and you roll the rest of the money to the rest of the season.
Exactly. Yeah, we've been saying this. I mean, this is a conversation we've had probably 100 times on the 160 podcast episodes that we've had.
I make sure to give it a shout out every second time.
It's either that or you just shitting on neutral items. One of the two. Every single time.
We should do like a bingo card for our podcast, actually. That would be pretty funny.
A drinking game.
But yeah, I kind of agree with like the whole thematical thing. The one thing that they've tried to keep this like fiery theme or whatever is in the Battle Pass collection. Like that chest has fire themed sets, but it's a bit hard to explain it, but it feels a little bit more like shoehorned in, right? And it's not the theme of the Immortals in the same way. Like I feel like the Immortals have obeyed more to a theme in previous years. This year it's just like a lot of different cool stuff, but it doesn't really, like you said, tell a story. And I just think the map is really what's missing.
I guess I think the map too for me.
The map and some sort of custom mode, because the only custom mode they've teased is Dire Tide, and that has like nothing to do with the theme of TI at all. There's nothing that ties it together. And they don't have, I think, Shannon, the creeps you used, the crocodiles or whatever, they were part of like the theme as well, right?
I mean, it was one of the TIs. I don't know if it was actually thematic.
I think it was thematical. Wasn't that the one that was like water style or whatever?
Oh yeah, maybe you're right.
I think, and then
that terrain was a disaster.
Well. The towers this year are crabs that don't really fit the lava theme. I feel like they're just there.
They can live in very deep depths.
They can.
So it does technically make sense, but I think they look terrible personally. But
I think like looking at in a more simple way, just pick up a color, pick up a color and just keep it. If this color is red, every effect has to be red. Every set has to kind of be red. Every terrain and the towers have to be red. Keep the magmatic element, and that's it. You don't really have to overcomplicate it. And what if people like other effects? It's okay, because you have other TIs, with other colors, You have the purple TI and you have this other TI. So if you keep it as a theme, I think it's just more cohesive. Like I want to see a skin and say, "Oh, this is from 2021," you know, that TI.
Yeah, I could see that.
Can't use red though. That's Crimson Witness. That's a big color.
Half of, correct. So that's the special drops at TI.
Yeah.
Do some of the Chinese players still have those crazy sets with strange particle effects and like the fading ghost and stuff? Like I remember
think
FY
they do,
had a
yeah.
bunch of them. They're still in the game. They still work like that.
I think so, yeah. I think China,
Oh
so
my
the,
God.
the Perfect World client got like special treasures or sets or whatever.
Yeah, they do
They're
also
Chinese
have their own, but they had ones that also worked on European servers.
Yeah. I mean,
The
isn't that
Chinese
just how it
care
works?
a lot
The Chinese,
about
the
cosmetics.
Chinese items work on the Western servers, but not vice versa. Isn't that how it is? Because they have like limitations for like skulls and blood and stuff on characters.
Yeah,
that
well,
can't
I don't
be
know if they
depicted.
work anymore, but I just remember playing in games when that was there. It was real.
Were there any
Pay to win.
cosmetics that you were like, yeah, do you think any
It
of
was
them
super pay to
actually
win.
bothered you? Like in
Of course,
competitive
those
play?
were intense. Those were some of the most extreme. Right now, I would say there's also a few extreme ones they added, like the Mirana Moonlight Shadow that makes everyone dark. So
Mhm.
like that makes them everybody more or less pitch black. Even though you get the sentry on them, they still have this weird pitch black animation. So if you're playing against Terrorblade Mirana, he clicks Metamorph with his set that also makes him pitch black, and he has Manta and illusions are going. You have no fucking clue. Whereas normally you would have a
Mhm.
clue. Like you should know. And in fact, like the game
Mhm.
is telling you with basic skins, you should know which one is the real TB when you're dealing with no Manta, but like Conjure Image and Moonlight Shadow and Meta. But now you actually can't. And I would say that's like the most extreme. And then there's like the Ursa set, which I think you can get used to. The red one, where you're actually not sure if he enrages. Like if you don't play with the
Mm.
sound cue, or like if you don't, you're not sure, and or if he goes fog, like he's actually so red that he could be enraged by like glancing. I think you can get used to it, but in the beginning, when people started playing with that, a lot of us were bothered by that one too in my team.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would say
Does the Abaddon bother you? The one that is all blue, looks like he's ulting the whole time.
oh maybe there was something with that. Maybe there was something with that. There are some sets that works funny with the runes and like the meta when you're dark, like it also covers some runes more. Makes it harder to see what's going on. And the Moonlight Shadow again, like I think these two are the most insane.